coming on to Dave then, obviously the reason why we arranged to do another interview so close to one that we'd recently done. For those who won't know, obviously the White Rhino, Dave Allen, has teamed up with yourself. I was originally sceptical at first because you announced it on April Fool's Day. So I was there like thinking, is this just a joke or is it a prank? I mean, I spoke to a couple of people who confirmed it. Just talk to me about the entire situation there and how it all came about.
Well, first of all, we didn't realise it was April Fool's Day when he announced it, and it was about 4:00 anyway, so it didn't count. But yeah, so Dave, I've known Dave for a couple of years, and you know, as we all know, he's a great character. He's great to have around boxing, and he can fight. He's let himself down in the past with preparation, or you know, not taking it seriously. Maybe he could do, but life's all about lessons and learning from, you know, the mistakes you make in the past. They're only mistakes if you continue making them, and if you don't learn from them and use those lessons to improve and make yourself better, then what's the point? So Dave approached me, and he sent me a message asking me for my number, and I sort of had an idea what it'd be about because people have copied me into social media posts with him for ages, just saying they feel like we'd be a good fit for him to come down to our gym. So yeah, when he texted me, I sort of had an idea of what it was going to be about, and then when he rang me the next day, we had a discussion, and I've said in the past, I've had to say no to people in the past about coming training to the gym because we're so busy. You know, it's not fair on the lads what I've already committed to, and it wouldn't be fair on other lads coming in. But you know, Tommy Coyle's retired recently, and in that sense, there was sort of a way that somebody could come in, but it was all about making sure it was the right person because, you know, no matter how talented you are as a fighter, doesn't necessarily mean that you can work with a certain type of coach. Every individual personality is different. But every time someone copied me into a post with Dave Allen, I always had in the back of my mind, if he asks me, I'll say yeah, because I've always felt like I'd be able to help him. I thought he'll fit in well with the lads in my gym. And, you know, potentially, he's got a massive amount of talent if he uses all his attributes properly. And, you know, I'd never really studied him. I just watched him as a fan, really, and because I like his character, and I even though he's in some win some, lose some fights, he's always entertaining. He's always good to watch. So we've had the conversation and I've agreed to work alongside him, then I've started to watch him a little bit more, and he can be so much better with a few tiny little adjustments. You know, it's not like it's going to need a full overhaul. It's crazy. What's the point in doing that? He's 28 years old, and it's too late in the day to do stuff like that. You know, if you're going to make a massive change to someone, it's got to be earlier on. So, I've spoken to him on the phone. We've been on FaceTime having conversations about the little adjustments what I feel he'd need to make to improve himself massively, and he agrees. And you know, they're not. It's not some massive scientific experiment where we're going to go through a thing. It's pretty simple stuff, but it'll make a massive difference. So, and I also believe, just in being in the gym, surrounded by good fighters like Carl, Martin Murray, Rocky, you know, Jack Carroll, he's going to learn. He's going to educate himself just by sitting down and watching them spar, watching the work ethic in the gym, the way they train. So not just the stuff what I'll try and help him with. It'll be a team effort. It'll be a joint. It'll be joint effort in the sense of he'll just improve himself as a fighter just by being surrounded by good fighters.
One thing which I wanted to touch on, and the only thing I was maybe a little bit surprised by was we obviously spoke off camera, and you said you didn't have any previous or prior training together. Usually when a new guy's going to come to the gym, you'll maybe have like a week or 2 weeks together just to see how you get on before making that decision. What made you think you and Dave would just be able to work together?
I got feeling. That's the only thing I can really say. But usually I'm right. I always go off feeling. You've got a gut feeling for a reason, and you know it's no accident. So generally, it's the fighter who asks if they can come down and have a bit of a trial. Because don't forget, they employ us to do a job. So when someone comes and asks if they can come and train to see how they feel and see if they fit in, it's a little bit like a job interview for yourself. So, but he never has to do that. He must be pretty confident in the stuff what he's seen, the videos and stuff what he's seen of us all training, the atmosphere, and probably following us all on social media and seeing the crackpot we all get up to. So, I'm a big believer in creating a good environment for people to train in, because boxing is the hardest sport in the world, and if you're not enjoying going to work in any walk of life, you're never going to perform to your best or do your best job. And if we can get fighters enjoying coming to the gym, yet still get them to put all the effort in and work in, then you're onto a winner, because mentally they're in a good place. And if you've got a fighter who's mentally in a good place, they're a hard man to beat.
So on Dave as a fighter, then what do you make of him? What have you exactly studied on him? What do you think he does well? What do you think he does wrong? And what do you think you'll be able to work with him on and improve specifically?
I think he's got good feet, which he doesn't use enough. And that's not to say I think he should be the next coming of Muhammad Ali and start dancing around the ring. But using your feet there's so many different dimensions to it. I think just getting him a little bit fitter, so his work ethic, I think, can be improved, and in that, then you'll see confidence, because maybe that's something what's lacking. Because if you're not fit, I remember watching Paulie Malignaggi talking in commentary one day, and it made sense. Said something along the lines of, somebody said to him once, the fitter you get, the braver you get. And it's true, because if you're not fit and you're fatigued and you're blown out your ass, it's really tough to be brave. So I think Dave will get confidence from having a better engine, and using a bit of fundamental stuff a little bit more. Going back to getting a nice jab going, not trying to load up on one shot, finish it in one shot, setting it up a little bit more, setting traps. I've seen him coaching Danny Morrell, and just listening to him talk to Danny gives you a little bit of an insight into what's going on in his head. He's got a real good boxing brain. He's teaching Danny stuff, or not necessarily doing it himself. So he's capable of doing it. He's got the right sort of educated boxing mind to be able to do it. It's just not putting it into practice. It's about bringing that out of him and getting him to do it. And I feel that in being around the lads, being in the right environment, creating a good atmosphere, will get the best out of him.
One thing I wanted to ask as well is, obviously, over the past 2-3 years in particular, we've seen Dave have some punishing fights. Luis Ortiz, Dillian White, David Price most recently. Some grueling fights there for Dave that he's had to go through.
Yeah.
Some fans, but I assume his family as well, were kind of concerned with regards to his own health and his well-being. Is it something that you thought about? How long do you feel he's got left in the sport? Something that maybe you did consider when you took him on?
Well, of course, he's an heavyweight, so with that comes greater risk in terms of the power they carry and stuff like that. So, but he's not. My concern isn't only for Dave Allen. It's concern for all my fighters. This is a dangerous sport, so he'll get the same care and attention as every fighter gets, and that's 100% commitment from me, for them to know that I've got their health and well-being as my first and foremost interest. Boxing is boxing. It's a sport. It's not our life. Life's more important than boxing. And I think I've proved in the past that I'll always make the right call and the right decision in terms of looking after the fighters, if need be. I'm not afraid to pull a fighter out of a fight or scared of my reputation being affected by it, because at the end of the day, I'll always be able to look at myself in the mirror and I sleep at night knowing that I've made the right call for that fighter at that point in time, to my best of knowledge. Because, leaving a fighter in for another 2 or 3 rounds when it looks like there's no real point of doing it, or that there's virtually no chance of him winning, what's the point in that? I really don't see the point. I don't think it's good for the fighter. I don't think it's good for the fans. They don't want to see that. That once the other fighters established that they're in control and they're going to win the fight, no one wants to see a guy get punished. So I will look after him. He's signed with MTK now. They're the management team, and I work with a lot of MTK fighters. And they're a company what the fighters' health and is first and foremost to their best interests. So, without bragging, I think he's made the right decision. If it's solely for the fact that he wants to make sure he's looked after, and his health and well-being is the first and foremost interest to his coach and his management team, then he couldn't have come to anyone better than us, because that's what we'll do.
So what kind of plans and what kind of a vision have you mapped out with Dave? I know it's all going to be kind of
I'm getting a sun in my eyes here, mate. I'm going to turn into Bruce Lee if it keeps going.
What kind of plans and what have you kind of made up with Dave with regards to his future? What kind of fight do you want to see?
Obviously, because it's a new partnership, then we suggested that having a not too demanding fight, say an 8-rounder against someone who's not too dangerous, just to have a sort of a run-in where we can get a training camp in and have a bit of a trial run. Then a bit of a step up, not a pretty good match-up then, maybe over 10 rounds, a bit of a name who we feel like it'll be a good contest, and then we'll see where we're at then. I don't think, he's 28, that's young for a heavyweight, even though he's been involved in some bigger fights and it feels like he's been around forever. He's still relatively young for a heavyweight, but I understand people's concerns, and that will be something what I'll obviously keep an eye on. But it's about making the right matches at the right time, and Dave's probably just managed himself in the past and took fights without anyone having a conversation with him or discussion about is that the right fight to take at the right time. Boxing a lot of the time is about timing and making the right fights at the right time, and we'll be able to help him in making those decisions and making sure they're the right ones.
Dave has made no secret of it. He'd love to fight for and he'd love to win the British title. I did an interview with Sam Hyde yesterday, and Sam was he was in the same position previously. He wanted to win a British title so desperately and so badly, but Sam said he wants to kind of engineer a different kind of career path now, and if he has to kind of surpass that or move around it to get to somewhere else and to better his future, then he will do. Do you think that's something that you guys are going to be considering with Dave?
Well, I think it's every British fighter's dream to win the British title. But like I've just said, timing, a lot of the time comes into play. These fighters who've won British titles who you wouldn't really deem as being British level, but they have because of the circumstances at the time. But Dave's more than capable of winning a British title. But Daniel Dubois is a ferocious puncher and a very, very dangerous fighter. So, right now at this moment in time, I wouldn't advise Dave Allen to take a Dubois fight. But who's to say that with 2 fights down the line and he's showing massive improvements and his work ethics improved, then we sort of have to think about that when the time comes. But I think Dave Allen's more than capable of winning a British title. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a very good boxing brain. It's just about bringing it all out of him.